So today we are actually trying Leetcode 1768 and its merge strings alternatively. So you are given two strings, word 1, word 2. You have to merge the strings by adding letters in alternating order. Starting with word 1, if a string is longer than the other, append other letters onto the end of the merge string and return the merge string. So for example, we have word 1 is equal to A, B, C, and word 2 is equal to P, Q, R. And the output is going to be A, P, and then we have a B here, and then we go back to Q, and then we go to C and R. Excellent. And now we have the explanation. So pretty much just alternating A, P, B, Q, C, R. And that's the merged solution. Now for a second example, we have AB, which is shorter than the second word, which is PQRS. So we have 4 here, and the first one we have 2. So what they did is they did pretty much A, and then they went to P, and then they went back to B. At this point we go back to Q, and after that we just add the rest. Okay, pretty cool. So now that we know that, we have to think of a way to kind of not only add the numbers alternatively, but also add the rest of the words completely once we find the specific index. So 2 things I'm thinking about is first to kind of like use first to find to allow us to kind of alternate between the letters, we can use like an advantage. Alternating can be done using pretty much like so alternating could be done using like odd and even. Using the odd and even concept. So that allows us to kind of alternate. And second thing that we can talk about is now how can we actually get the rest of this. So I'm gonna use I can use a for loop. So we can iterate with a for loop. The longest word, and we could just like alternate. We could just like iterate with a for loop using the longest words length. And once we do that, what are we trying to do then? We want to know once we reach the specific end of the length of the first word, meaning that once we know that we had reached the length of AB, which is 2, that means that we just have to essentially just add the rest of the letters contained in the second word. So the way we can do that is through, for example, if the iterator is equal to word 1, that length, then so if the iterator is equal to word 1, that length, that means that we've reached the final word essentially. And I just want to, if it's equal, I just want to take the concatenated word, and then I'm gonna just add like what is it called again? Word 2, that substring. And then we could just start here by adding the start index, which is gonna be the iterator. And then we'll end at word 2, that length. One thing you have to remember is that the iterator is going to be included as a substring, and then the index that you mention here is going to be excluded for substring. And yeah, once we have that, last step is just to return the output. So that's pretty much the strategy here, and we could get started. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a string, which is going to be concatenated word is equal to something simple, okay? And from there, I could start by having my for loop and say that for int I, so for int index is equal to 0, index is less than, essentially, the longest word is going to be between those two, which is going to be, okay, so I need another integer. Longest word is equal to word1 that length greater than word2 that length. So if word1's length is greater than word2, then I just want to keep word1 that length. Else, I just want to get the length of word2. Cool. And then from there, we could just go with longest word. And I'll say the index plus plus to increment. And then from there, the last step is going to be, first we have to find the alternating number, essentially. So to do so, we have to start by thinking about the odd and even. So 1, for example, is considered an odd number. Or 0, I'm not sure. This is 0 an even number? Yes, so it is an even number. So 0 is an even number. Because I'm thinking right now, should we actually use that? Okay. So we can say if index, because I don't want to like, okay, so if index modulo, so if index is essentially, so if index modulo 2 is equal to 0, if index modulo 2 is equal to 0, that means that it's an even number. And we'll start by just simply taking concatenated word, and just say that plus equals and I'm gonna just do word1 that substring, and we'll get the current index, which is going to be index, and then index plus 1 to exclude it. So once we have that, the next step is to work on the else, which is going to be pretty much the same thing. just that we changed the word 1 to word 2, since we're working now with the second word. And one of the biggest things I want to do is to check if the index is actually equal to the smallest word's length. So we did that to get like the longest word. Simply we can have this for like the smallest word. So we have the longest and the smallest word. And then I just want to know if the index is equal to the smallest word. That's the smallest word. So if it is equal to the smallest word, from that point on, we know that there's only one thing to do, which is to add the rest to the concatenate. So we'll do concatenated word is going to be equal plus equals plus equals now so I just wanted to add like the last word, but now I'm thinking we have the smallest word, right? The length of the smallest word, but I'm thinking how can we actually add like the length of like how could we know the smallest word? How could we know like the longest word now? We know the length, but we don't know which one is. Okay. So instead of doing this, I think I'm gonna just keep the word itself like this. Apologies. So that should be, I'm just gonna keep the word itself, not the length. And then from there, I'll be able to know which word it is. Because at this point, when I'm here, I don't know exactly which one it is. And that's problematic. So here, instead of using this, I'm going to say longest. And this should be a string. And this is going to be a string. So this is going to be longest word, that length, like this. And then from there, I could do the same thing. Here, that length. And then from there, all I have to do now is just do longest word, like this, longest word, that sub string, and then I could just pass in the current index up to the longest word, that length, and that would exclude the last index. And that's pretty much it. But once we do this, I have to check that it's not, I have to make sure that if the index is actually like equal to the smallest word. Because I'm thinking where I place the if statement might just not add like the No, actually, it's perfect because I was thinking like it might create like an array out of bounds, but once we go to like one, and for example, we have two numbers, right? We have like first word that's like a length of 2, and the second one is 5, for example. When we get to like index 0, 1, it's fine. But once we get to 2, it's gonna actually come back from the beginning of the loop. So we'll be at line 13, checking if index is equal to smallest word at length, which is gonna be 2, and the index is also gonna be 2, and that works. That's gonna allow us to just catch that specific instance here. So that's perfect. So, however, we need to move the conditionals here inside like this. So now we know that if the index is equal to the smallest word dot length, we just concatenate. Else, we want to do some more processing. We just want to know if it's alternating or not. And we'll just do the alternating logic here. And once we finish that, I think the last thing we want to do is just simply return the concatenated word like this. And that's the logic I'm rocking with. I'm rocking with that. I think that might work better. Okay. Quick check. Word dot length. Smallest word is smaller than word 2 dot length. Good. Word 1 greater. Good. And we alternate. We concatenate if we reach the final number. But if we concatenate, I just want to actually break out of the loop. So we don't do anything else, because that's going to be an issue. And yeah, I think that does it for us. Let's try it. Okay, so we have an issue, a line. So this is going to be equal to word 1. Oh, okay. That's the issue. So that was actually like it's not supposed to be like a semicolon. It was supposed to be one of those colons, or I think it's called, right? So now we fix that and should be good. Okay, another issue. Oh, apologies, we have to do this here. This is a word, not an array. Okay, another problem. Okay, it's the same issue. Okay, let me just check if everything is working. Okay. Yeah, that should work. Dang, okay. Longest word, cannot find the symbol. Okay, so I think it's the way I wrote substring. Yeah. Yep. I was right. So the issue was the substring. Cool. And then, yep, this one too. And we should be good. Cannot find symbol, word 1. Okay, it's the same error. Okay, something interesting happened. So we have A, Q, okay, I see. So the loop is essentially just like going through everything, but it's not allowing us to have enough time to go through each word on both sides. So I think that's the issue. Okay, so the best way to solve that is actually using a while loop. So we can use like a while loop, and we can have this integer index outside. And while the index is less than the longest word, like this, we'll do this. So and we'll come here and then increment the index. But the thing is, this is gonna increment the index, but I'm only gonna increment the index. So, okay, so I can't do, I was thinking about the alternating using like the actual, how do we call that? The odd and even thing. So that was my initial idea. But I think instead of using that, we should use like something else. And from my perspective, since we should be going back to the same index, we could just use like a switch. So we could call like integer switch. Okay, switch is a keyword, so we could use something else. Controller, and then say that that's equal to 0. And I will say so if the controller is equal to 0, we'll go to word 1. Else, we go to word 2. And controller here is also going to be equal to 1 once we go to this specific one. And when we do that, we come back here and then we say that controller is going to be equal to 0. So that's going to allow us to just do that back and forth. Index, and we have the concatenated word like this. And that should be good. We have the index, we have the controller. Yep. Okay. That's pretty bad. Okay, no problem. So we have APQ. So we did the A, we went back to, okay, we did the A and then we went back to Q. That's an issue. So we did A. Okay, I see where the issue is coming from. We're still moving one index while we still need to do one of these things. Okay, so so here's what we'll do. So word 1, word 2, we get here. I'm gonna actually increase the index when we go back to this. Okay, so once we have the second word, then I'll increase the index. Perfect. Now that works. Let's submit it. Okay, that works. Pretty good. Cool. Yeah. It works, but it was just kind of painful to kind of write. think I did a bunch of mistakes here. It took too long figuring out the switches and stuff like that. We can get much better. But that's pretty much it for me today. And I'll see you guys next time.